If there is such a thing as the quintessential child of Hollywood, Carrie Fisher has strong claims. Her actress-singer mother, Debbie Reynolds, and then singing idol father, Eddie Fisher, certainly helped her along. Reynolds and Fisher were America's sweethearts until he left her for their family friend Elizabeth Taylor when Taylor's film director husband Mike Todd died in a plane crash. Carrie Fisher's big break as an actress came when she starred as Princess Leia in the George Lucas Star Wars epics. But behind the cloak of stardom, Fisher has struggled with drug addiction and mental illness, both of which have haunted her throughout her life. Despite her personal demons, Fisher has won acclaim as a writer, with works including Postcards from the Edge and more recently her memoir, Wishful Drinking, which she's adapted for the stage, including Broadway. I recorded this interview with her in Sydney, where the show opens next week. Carrie Fisher, yours was an unusual childhood, to say the least, even by Hollywood standards. At 13, your mother suggested that you try marijuana together so you wouldn't do it outside the home and get into trouble.
We had a house in Palm Springs, and we'd rented it, or she'd rented it, and the people that rented the house left what they used to call it a lid behind. And so that was, she brought it back home and said, all right, so, you know, I'd rather you experiment, which I always think is a hilarious word for drug use. Like someone's running out of a laboratory with, you know, a beaker smoking, saying, I found it. And she forgot that we had this lid.
But you didn't?
Never. No, and so I experimented the hell out of it, you know, for the next however, till it went away.
At 19, when you were filming Star Wars, you replaced marijuana with hallucinogens plus painkillers. I would have thought that experience with George Lucas would have been somewhat bizarre even without the drugs.
Redundant?
But how well did Star Wars and hallucinogens go together?
Well, no, it's not like I came on the set, you know, saw 3 Wookiees instead of 1. I didn't use hallucinogens on Star Wars. That would have been redundant. I don't think I took drugs, you know, when I was working. I'm, you know, so professional. Except perhaps once on the ice planet, because it looked like coke, the whole ice planet.
You essentially said that you moved on to the hallucinogens and the painkillers because things had turned bad with the marijuana.
Yeah, fact, marijuana just did a real reverse on me. It would have been great if I'd liked that, but it made me, you know, to say self-conscious doesn't do it, just paranoid and very unhappy. So
I think you suggested that it might have been Harrison Ford's dope that did it.
Yes, it was. Oh, no. But I don't think it's like a secret that he did that at one time.
I don't know who you are or where you came from. But from now on, you do as I tell you, okay?
Look, your worshipfulness, let's get one thing straight. I take orders from just one person, me.
So one day you're still alive. Will somebody get this big walking carpet out of my way?
Your father said of himself, I came from the streets of Philadelphia to the White House. Harry Truman loved me, Ike loved me, Jack Kennedy and I shared drugs and women. How do you summarise now?
I'd never heard that quote.
No, this was in one of the obits.
Oh, really?
Yeah. How do you summarise now the man he was in your eyes, and what epitaph would you write for him if you haven't already written it?
I haven't already written it. My father was a joyous, joyous spirit. He really was. He was a hedonist. That was just, he enjoyed life, thrust up to the elbows with it. He was a terrible father. I don't know that he was parented that well, but because when my parents divorced, we rarely saw him again, maybe once a year, until I got old enough to be more amusing to know, less needy, more able to give him celebrity-infested 60th birthday parties. And in his last years, I took care of him, and he was a joy. And he knew he didn't deserve it. I mean, you know, it wasn't like, where the hell are you? It's my 82nd birthday. It was, we're coming, and we'll be 2 days late, And we're getting you some more strippers. So hang on.
On being manic depressive, you describe mania as, in effect, liquid confidence, and you can tell funny stories about that side of it, but there's not much that's funny about the other side of the coin, is there? The bit you describe as the tide going out.
Well, it's weather. When the tide is in, it's all good. But when the tide is out, I never was suicidal, but I wouldn't have minded being, like not alive for a while, just to sort of skip certain. I mean, everything hurts. You're not properly, when you're depressed, properly insulated. And, it's hard to say how bad it is.
Have you ever been able to satisfy yourself about where it's come from? Whether
him,
yeah,
Eddie, yeah, sure. We were on all the same medication. I don't know if that satisfies me, but anyway.
On one occasion, you stayed awake for 6 days because 2 of your medications were interacting badly, as you put it. How did it come to that?
Oh, I don't know. It was this doctor that this new psychopharmacologist I had, he gave me these new medications. I stopped breathing because of the 2 interactions. So when I went to the hospital, they took me off of everything. And I said, please do not do that because I won't sleep. And they said, no one has ever died from losing one night's sleep. Well, that's okay to say if it's not your one night. And it wasn't one night. It was 6. It's like, what do they say? Surgery, minor surgery is someone else's surgery. Missing one night's sleep is missing my night. So I was 6 nights and I lost my mind, and everything on TV was about me.
Now, was that the point at which you committed yourself?
I was in. Oh, I didn't commit myself. I had to audition, essentially, for the mental hospital because there was, as I like to say, no room at the bin. So the guy had to come over, and
you had to impress
absolutely impressed him. I was very, very impressive.
And you signed your name in as Shame.
I signed my name with my left hand. Now, why, if you're a lunatic enough to go into a mental hospital, why am I signing myself in? I was too crazy to, but, so there it was. They had me sign, yes, and I signed with my left hand, Shame. Because that is what it is. I mean, you lose total control. You don't know what you're doing, but you know it's not right.
How does your daughter Billy deal with all this? Because at one point in the book, when she tells you she no longer wants to be a neurologist with a specialty in schizophrenia, but a comic, and you say, quote, well, baby, if you want to be a comic, you have to be a writer, but don't worry, you have tons of material. Your mother is a manic depressive drug addict, your father is gay, your grandmother tap dances, and your grandfather shot speed.
And my daughter laughed. And that's all you can ask for. That she knows that stuff that isn't funny, it better be funny.
In fact, you said, baby, the fact that you know that's funny is going to save your whole life. Is that what saved yours? Is that what saved yours?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. The fact that I can claim all these things that, for a lot of people, is just shameful. Mental illness, shameful. Drug addiction, that's actually, I think, more something to be ashamed of than the mental illness, because you cooperate a bit with that one. The other one's just a slam dunk, comes from outside. And my daughter forgives me that one. Still pissed about the other. But, my daughter, it was hard for her. And she's had to, but it's taught her to be more adult than I wish she'd had to be at an early age.
And with your theatre show, do you have any idea how many you've done now? How many times you've done it?
700. 700
from the women's.
And it does change over time, and also it changes with each audience because I involve the audience in the show. George Lucas was the man who actually made me into a little doll. A little doll my first husband could stick pins into when he was annoyed with me. Also, I was a shampoo where you could twist off my head and pour liquid out of my neck. And the best thing about the show is the connection you get with the people that are in the audience, is when they relate to it.
Is that what keeps you doing it? I mean, apart from anything else, I'm sure there's income. I'm sure there's all the kind of basic things about why we work. But are you getting real pleasure from it? Are you getting therapy from it?
I get total pleasure from it. Therapy, therapy's therapy. But what this is, I guess there's a type of therapy, because if you pretend something long enough, it comes true. Well, one of the great things to pretend is that you're not only all right, you're in great shape. Now, to have that come true, I've actually gone on stage depressed. And that's worked its magic on me, because if I can convince you that I'm all right, then maybe I can convince me. And it has done that. It really has. It's amazing.
Carrie Fisher, thanks very much for talking with us.
Thanks for being talked to.
And you can access a longer version of that interview on our website.